the key to the solving trig equations review. Is there anything that I need to do mathematically to this first one? No. I just need to know where on the unit circle the sign value is -1. 3 pi over 2. That's the answer. I'm done. Okay. Okay, so I want to try to give you some strategies. When I look at these problems, the first thing I'm going to look for is whether or not they have any squared terms. If they have a squared term, there's a potential that I might have to factor it, but there's also a potential that I might have to do what else? Take the square root. And that's going to let me know approximately how many answers I'm looking for. Okay? If I have to factor this, I should have a squared term, a term to the first degree, and then a constant. Do I have that? Yes. So I know that I'm going to have to factor this. And since I'm going to have to factor it, I also know that I need to have the leading coefficient be positive. Which means that drives my next move. So should I move the -3 sine squared?
Ms. Thomas.
Yes, ma'am.
See Kaylin for checkout, please. Thank you.
All right. Which way should I move? The -3 to the right or the -5 to the left?
-5 to the left.
-5 to the left. So what do I have?
2 sine squared
2 sine squared theta. Keep going. Let's just do all the moves at one time. Keep moving everything over. -3 sine theta plus 1. Okay. I need to factor this. And so I set up the X method. Up top is AC. What's AC? 2. What's B?
3.
It's -3.
Just still on as issue by also keeping 1 on the other side.
No. Because you need to factor it like a trinomial. Okay. All right, so I need two numbers that will give me a product of 2 and a sum of -3. -2 and -1. And then what do I do? Put it over A, and A is 2. Simplify if I can. Okay, the denominator is the coefficient of your variable. What's the variable in this trig equation? Okay, so this would be sine of x minus 1. That's what this is going to be, your sine of theta minus 1.
So the bottom is what goes with your
Variable.
okay. So
Okay.
it's split.
So now do this one.
Sine.
2 sine theta minus 1. Okay, now I set each one of these equal to 0. So sine of theta minus 1 equals 0. Oops. Sine of theta equals 1. Where does the sine of theta equal 1? Pi over 2. And then 2 sine of theta minus 1 equals 0. Sine of theta equals 1/2. Okay. Here's what you have to remember. There are 2 places on the unit circle where I'm going to get a positive sine value. So I show sine of theta equal 1/2, which would be a 30-degree reference. So that would be pi over 6. And where else is sine positive? That's in 4th quadrant. That would be negative. So it's got to be 5 pi over 6. Okay, any questions on this one? All right. Oh, wait. Sine, yes.
I got the answer right. It's just I did it differently. Like I didn't have the first, like the square term positive.
Okay, so
Because I got the right answer.
I see what you're saying. And I think that's okay as long as your answers are okay, but algebraically speaking, your leading term should be positive before you factor it. All that does to the problem is it reflects it. it's a directional sign. It's not a value for the terms. So kind of take it out or move everything to the other side before you factor. All right. What do you notice about this problem? It's on either side. 3 cosine theta. So, guys, if y'all have 3 cosine theta on both sides, what can you do? Cancel it out. Okay. So this gives me 0 equals 3 tangent of theta plus 2 root 3 tangent of theta cosine of theta. How many terms do I have? 2 terms. What does each term have in common? A tangent. So that's what I take out. So 0 equals tangent of theta times what? 3 plus 2 root 3 cosine of theta. Okay, now I set each part equal to 0. So the tangent of theta equals 0. Where does that happen? 0, pi, and pi. Now, depending on the restrictions that you're given, you may or may not need to include 2 pi. All right. So the next part is 3 plus 2 root 3 cosine of theta. Okay. So now what? 2 root 3 cosine of theta equals negative 3. Now what? Okay, so cosine of theta equals negative 3 over 2 root 3. So rationalize. So this would be root 3 over root 3. Negative 3 root 3 over 6, which reduces to negative root 3 over 2. So, where on the unit circle is the cosine root 3 over 2?
Minus y over 6, 7 times 6.
So I needed cosine to be negative. That was second and third quadrant. Any questions on this one? Okay. Okay. All right.
On the test, is it going to be written in this notation, the restriction, or will be written in brackets and parentheses?
What does it say on here? Oh, it means the same thing. So let's look at the restriction that's on this worksheet. What does this worksheet tell you to do for your answers? I can include 0, but I cannot include 2 pi. So that is called what's the word? It's not interval notation. Interval notation is where you have the brackets or the parentheses. And so if I was putting it in interval notation, there would be parentheses around the 2 theta. I mean, 2 pi.
Interval notation is just easier to look at.
I'm not sure what's on there.
Okay.
All right, so what do you want to do on this one? Am I going to need to factor this? No. Why not? Why don't I need to factor this? There's no squared term. You may pull out a common factor, but that's not the same as factoring. So I should move the 2 sine theta to the right-hand side. So 0 equals square root of 2 sine theta cosine theta. Finish it. Minus sine theta. Okay, now what does each term have? A sine theta. So 0 equals sine theta times root 2 cosine theta minus 1. Alright, set each thing equal to 0. Sine of theta equals 0. Where does that happen? 0, pi, and pi, according to these restrictions. Root 2 cosine theta minus 1 equals 0. Cosine theta is equal to 1 over root 2, which is the same as what? Root 2 over 2. pi over 4,
And 7 pi.
and 7 pi over 4. First and fourth quadrant. Why don't I need 4 answers? Here.
It's only positive.
It's only the positives. I didn't take the square root, so I don't have plus or minus, so I only have the positives. Okay. Is there a potential to factor here? Yeah, but I need to do some moving first. So what makes sense? Move the -2 secant theta to the right. So I get 0 equals, let's put it all in the correct order, in descending order right away. So what would I get first? Secant squared theta plus secant minus 2. Okay, now I really don't need to do the x method. This one's easy to factor. So 0 equals secant of theta plus 2. That's right, plus 2. And then secant of theta minus 1.
Oh, never mind.
It's like x squared plus x minus 2.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so secant of theta plus 2 equals 0. Secant of theta would be -2, which is cosine of theta is -1/2. So I need to go to the second and third quadrant with my 60-degree angles. 2 pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3. And then secant of theta equals 1, which is the same as cosine of theta equals 1.
And that's 0 pi.
0 pi. Anything else? No. Just 0 pi. Okay? So this becomes 0 equals. You want to do 0 equals, or you want to go the other way?
Well, other way is fine.
Okay. So what do I get?
1 sine theta, sine squared theta equals -2. No, 1.
I moved from the right to the left.
Then sine equals 1.
Sine of theta equals plus or minus 1.
Oh,
It's pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2.
Pi over 2, 3 pi over 2. All right, number 7.
You add 5 sine, or you add
I like that. Add 5 sine squared. And what would I get?
4 sine.
4 sine squared theta.
And you add
And if I add the 2, I get
1.
1.
And you divide 4. Or divide by 4.
Sine squared theta equals 1 over 4.
You use the square root.
Sine theta equals
Plus or
plus or
minus.
minus 1/2. So that's all 4 which angles?
30.
30 degrees. So call them out.
5 or 6.
Pi over 6.
5 pi.
5 pi over 6.
7 pi over
7 pi over 6. 11 pi over 6.
the quiz, you're gonna ask us to put it in terms of K.
No. Nor do I care if you put it in order. So like if you have 2 separate binomials that are dealing with 2 different trig functions, and you won't have to put them in order. You can, but you don't have to. All right?
You add 3 secant squared theta.
So 2 equals
Secant squared.
secant squared theta.
Take the square root.
And if I take the square root, I get plus or minus square root of 2 equals the secant of theta, which is really what? Cosine of theta equals plus or minus root 2 over 2.
And that's all.
Cosine's a reciprocal for secant. And so I just split, this would be over 1. 1 over root 2 rationalizes. I call out the answers. Pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4, and 7 pi over 4. Okay?
You can add the 3.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do this. Just to keep everything positive. If I had moved it over and made it negative, the negatives would do what? They cancel out. So this one's not that big of a deal, but
Divide by 3. Take the square root.
okay, when I take the square root, what do I get? 2
2
over root 3. I don't need to because what am I going to do? Flip it. So cosecant is the reciprocal of sine of theta would be plus or minus root 3 over 2.
That's all.
It's all the 60s. So what is that? Call them out. Pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, 4 pi over 3, 5 pi over 3. Last one.
You add the 3 to the other side.
Secant theta equals
Negative 2.
-2.
And then that's cosine.
That's cosine theta equals
Negative 1/3.
-1/2.
And that's 2 pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3.
2 pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3. Nice. Nice job, nice job. All right.